would say I'm like an obsessive learner and a researcher and a truth seeker when it comes to everything. So that's part of it is I just wanted to understand the why behind everything. And what I've noticed in the hair industry especially is that when we look at the science of hair, there's not a lot of hair science, hair studies out there. And so that's become so important to me that I learn about the ingredients and how they work. Now there's so many brands. It's like superfoods. There's these buzzwords like sulfate free, silicone free, paraben free. And so early on, I just wanted to know what I was talking about and truly believe in what I was saying. And so I think that's where my wanting to constantly evolve comes from is because I want to keep questioning the things that I believe and keep getting to the root of what's true and keep learning more.
Hi, I'm Leslie Silverman, and I thrive on deep, honest conversations with entrepreneurs about how we show up as the truest version of ourselves, both personally and professionally. Because when we let our light shine, we give others permission to do the same. This is a category of one. Sadie Hessing is a curly hair specialist based in Boulder, Colorado. After beginning her career at the Aveda Institute in Denver, she quickly became passionate about helping people embrace their natural beauty. Seeing how often curls were treated as something to fix, Sadie made it her mission to change that narrative. She helps clients fall in love with their natural hair so they can feel confident, put together, and fully themselves without fighting what comes naturally. Committed to ongoing growth, she continually invests in advanced education to bring thoughtful, modern techniques to every guest who sits in her chair. I have been honored to be a client of hers and sit in her chair, and I'm so thrilled to share our conversation. Today, I'm so thrilled to have Sadie on the pod. She is someone who I met because when I first moved as a curly girl, it is always a struggle to find a stylist that you can truly trust with your hair. And I have nightmare stories to prove it. So I first met Sadie because when I discovered her, I was so thrilled to have someone that I trusted with my hair. And then we've developed a friendship and we have so many wonderful conversations that I felt that a lot of women with natural hair out there would really appreciate what we had to share today. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. It's such a compliment that you wanted me to be on the category of one podcast.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the whole definition of category of one is when you approach your business from such a unique perspective that you really have no competition. And I genuinely look at you in that way. So, why don't we just give our listeners a little bit of your background? Share with us your origin story and why you have chosen to approach curly hairstyling so naturally and beautifully as you do.
I got right into the beauty industry out of high school and I went to the Aveda Institute. It was honestly the first time I felt like I was good at something going to cosmetology school. And pretty soon after that, I had met a guy who was doing curly hair and I became his assistant for like 2 years. And when I got into this whole thing, I didn't know anything about curly hair. I had been straightening my own hair up until this point, and I had this whole background of getting wavy hair during puberty. And so I didn't know what to do with it. It was just puffy when I would brush it and it was frizzy and it was a big point of tension in my life. And so straightening it was kind of the only way I knew to solve this problem is how I viewed it. And so when I started working for this guy, Eric, as his assistant, I met so many people with curly hair and I noticed that everybody had similar stories of viewing their hair as a problem that needed to be fixed. And getting into this deep emotional work with curly hair is why I really stuck with it and went deeper into it because it's just so powerful when someone realizes their hair is not a problem. It's actually an asset. It's something that makes you unique and it gives you character. Just like you, Leslie, people know you as somebody with beautiful curly hair. So I'm so glad I found it.
Well, I'm glad you found it too, because I think when I describe you to other people, I say, I've been so lucky to find someone who approaches my hair as Well, okay, first of all, I love the fact that you're constantly evolving and learning. And I never thought anyone could ever teach me more about my hair. Even when I found people who were maybe good at cutting curly hair, they were horrible at styling it. So I would leave the salon with wet hair and go home and have to style it. Whereas with you, I feel like when I leave the salon, my hair is at its best because you're always learning new products, new tools, new ways to maximize natural curls. And so I also love how you're committed. I describe you as someone who embraces natural curls and all natural products, and you don't even do heavy dyeing or anything like that in your salon. You just want to embrace the hair in its most natural state.
Kind of an evolution over time. I started with curly hair and I was offering more color services, and I just realized that they didn't align with my vision of helping people embrace their natural beauty. So that's why I decided to go more into the natural realm, and I'm so glad also that the me continuing to learn about styling techniques has been helpful to you. It's something that in the beginning, that was my whole job, was to style curly hair. I'd be doing like up to 12 heads of curly hair a day. And I realized that everybody needed a different product, a different routine. And so my goal was to learn as much as possible and to keep learning as much as possible because it's truly not a one size fits all with curly hair.
It is, it's different for each person. And so it sounds like I think we talked about this last time I was in your chair, which is, I bet you feel like it's therapy when you have, I don't want to just say women, when you have anyone with naturally curly hair in your chair. But as a child, also aging myself a little bit, this was in the 70s. So there were not people who knew what to do with our hair. And everybody wanted that like perfectly straight Farrah Fawcett with the wings. And my mother didn't know what to do. And I tried hot rollers. I literally tried the orange juice from concentrate cans as rollers. We used an iron on the ironing board. My mother, we would fight and she would try and comb it and I would cry. And it was such a source of stress and anxiety
Yes.
for me. And I could feature a series of very embarrassing photos of my hair over the years. But now I do. I embrace it as such a core part of my personality and who I am. And I would think it's the first characteristic people would be like, Leslie, that bubbly girl who talks with her hands with the big curly hair. And so you had a similar sort of traumatic childhood around it. Share with us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I could show you like my baby pictures. I basically came out of the womb with crazy hair. I all of my baby pictures, it wasn't really curly, it wasn't wavy, it just all stuck straight up out of my head. So my family called me Sadie Lou Who because in every picture you can see, even the ones where my mom tried to tame my hair down, there was like one piece still sticking up. So it was always crazy and cowlicky. And then around puberty, it started to get really puffy and fluffy and frizzy. It's something that's actually really common that when people go through hormonal changes, their hair texture will change as well. And so at that age, I didn't know what to do with it. And this was the early 2000s. So flash forward, curly hair knowledge still has not gotten much better. And all there really was like Tresemme mousse. And I would pretty much only do that when I was at summer camp and I didn't have my hair straightener with me. So I straightened my hair all through school, all through high school, and I didn't start embracing my natural wave pattern until I started doing curly hair because I felt like I had to practice what I preached at that point.
And so another thing that you're amazing at is, and I think you've shared with me, these are also some of your favorite clients or customers to work with, are people going through different hormonal life changes. So you shared whether it's girls in puberty or maybe women postmenopause or going silver. What's special sort of about those transitions and how you can support people in their beauty journey?
Yes. I love a transition, and that's almost become like a second niche to the curly hair niche that I'm already in. And part of what I do now is I have this whole system that I take my new guests through. I call it the custom curl care method. And we talk about what makes their hair unique. I believe there's a certain set of factors that everybody has individual unique categories in. But we also talk about short and long term goals. So I always want to find out someone's long-term goals so that they know that I'm going to be the stylist that's going to stick with them through life, through this whole transitionary period. And I'll give you all the tools you need. So part of it is that I think it helps build a relationship with my client, that they know that I'm there for them and that I have a plan for them and that we're on the same page. But it's also so rewarding to come through the other side because when people start their transition journey with whatever it is, with embracing their curls, growing out a straightening treatment, growing out their natural gray color, anything that requires sometimes even years of a process to get to the other side. When we finally do, I like to take pictures and we look back and it's just mind blowing and so rewarding for both of us because people don't believe that their hair is going to become something more beautiful and more amazing. And they're scared of what's on the other side a lot of time. If it's embracing your natural gray, there's so many women who are terrified of letting their gray come in and what that's going to mean about what people think about them and how they're perceived in society, or even people who are scared to let their natural curl pattern come in because they don't know how that will affect them. So seeing them come through the other side and love it is the best, really.
Oh, yeah. I bet that's so rewarding. And then you've even had I'll call it a gift, to work with some people who've maybe been through chemo and lost their hair and had to navigate what their new hair looks like post losing their hair too, as well, right?
And just like hormonal changes, chemo and also autoimmune conditions and different medications people go on can cause your hair texture to change. And so for so many people, it's devastating and terrifying when they're already going through this health event. And then also they have this new head of hair that they don't recognize. So it is powerful if I can get them to find that beautiful.
Yeah. And I think there's just such a bigger conversation here just about all of us. And looping back into the theme of this show is talking about showing up as our truest versions of ourselves and finding a way to feel confident in that space. I think for people with naturally curly hair, that is something that can really let us lean into ourselves. I met a woman at a cocktail party recently, and hopefully, if she hears this, she won't be insulted. But she was like, "My hair looks like yours, but I blow it out every day." And I was talking up why I have enjoyed embracing my curls. And she said, "When I'm in a boardroom, I get taken more seriously with my hair straight." And I just don't think that's true. I think that's a story she has made up, but I was just a little off put by that. Do you ever hear statements like that from people?
To me, it seems like it doesn't come from nowhere. Like, I had a client who's a high profile divorce attorney, and she had been told in law firms that she worked at that she had to wear her hair straight as part of dress code. That was something that some of these, I think, male dominated jobs would require, that it wasn't professional to wear your hair curly. And so I think that's where that story started. And I've also heard it from women where this wasn't part of the dress code, but they just felt like wearing it straight was more polished or more put together. And this is something I see all the time and try to help people through to help them understand it's great when you can show up as yourself, and really it just comes from the confidence that you're embodying. And
Absolutely.
now everybody's more unique too. Now everybody people have tattoos, people wear their hair natural. It's okay to be more unique now, I think, than it was before. It's just that's another societal transition that we're in.
Yeah, I have found it like a conversation starter and a way to connect with people too. Was joking with a friend of mine recently. We were trying to remember how we had met, and it was at a networking event. And we literally talked to each other initially because we both had curly hair. And so it's almost a bonding thing when you see other people with natural curls that you just want to talk about. Well, what products do you use? I can't even tell you how many people I've told not only about you, but about like the brush that I was like, "I will never brush my hair," and that brush is a game changer. The, Bounce
It
Curl
is.
brush, not a paid endorsement, but that thing is incredible.
It really is.
One of the things that you shared with me, and hopefully it's okay to talk about, I know it's something that's just an idea of yours that's in the making, but I thought was such a brilliant idea, was you had shared that you wanted to approach a group class maybe with parents of children with natural curls. Perhaps the parent themselves don't have the same hair or they don't know how to help their child. And you had talked about hopefully in the future bringing together a small group for that type of tutelage.
Yeah, totally. I think that's one of the things where parents don't always want to purchase a full curly haircut for their child, or maybe they don't even know that that's an option. And there's so many parents. I think now they say that curly hair is the dominant gene. So I believe that curly hair is going to become more and more common. And there's so many parents, maybe their kid is mixed, or maybe they just ended up with a hair texture that they don't have themselves. So I see a hole in the market there, and I don't know exactly what I would do with that, whether it be something online or in person, but I would definitely love to give advice to parents with kids who have curly hair. And my mom works in child welfare and she has foster parents and adoptive parents who have a kid who maybe has a hair texture that they don't understand. I think there's so many people that could benefit for kids' curly education.
Absolutely. And something else fun you started lately, which is serving sort of the eco side of business, is your, I don't want to use the wrong language, a bulk bar, or how would you describe
I'm
that?
calling it the refill station.
Yeah, tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, so long story short, I have this suite in Boulder and it's about 600 square feet and I have all this extra space that I'm not using right now. It's just me in there. And so I was trying to figure out how can I use this extra space and I thought about a refill station with the products that I carry, the InnerSense products, and they're an awesome product line. They're certified B Corp, they're cruelty free, they only use great ingredients, they donate with a lot of charities. There's so many good things about this brand and why I support them, but they also sell to professionals like me gallon sized products. So I have some of my best sellers in gallon sizes so that people can bring in their old empty plastic containers and get them refilled by the ounce. They save money if they refill it with me, and then we save plastic. Or people can even bring in other containers. Like I've had someone bring in a mason jar to fill with the I Create volume, which is like the favorite curly gel that I have, but it's been awesome, and I've been really impressed how many people are coming through even when they don't have an appointment to refill their products.
That's such a cool idea. And one of the things that I've always just admired about how you run your business is that you don't just follow what all other stylists are doing. You really lean into pivoting, changing, what feels right for you at the time. I know you've gone through periods where you've had a stylist in training who you have taught and empowered. And then you've gone through other stages where you've just enjoyed being a solopreneur and running it yourself. Where do you think that came from? Because a lot of times, what we find and what I struggle to support my clients in my brand strategy business is encouraging them to break away from their industry status quo, forge their own path. That's what this whole podcast was born from, is me having these conversations with people who are doing things differently and defining themselves on their own. So what drove you to just have that passion to make it up in your own way?
Would say I'm like an obsessive learner and a researcher and a truth seeker when it comes to everything. So that's part of it is I just wanted to understand the why behind everything. And what I've noticed in the hair industry especially is that when we look at the science of hair, there's not a lot of hair science, hair studies out there. And so that's become so important to me that I learn about the ingredients and how they work. And there's so many brands who have you ever heard the term greenwashing?
Yes.
Now there's so many brands, it's like superfoods. There's these buzzwords like sulfate free, silicone free, paraben free. And so early on, I just wanted to know what I was talking about and truly believe in what I was saying. And so I think that's where my wanting to constantly evolve comes from, is because I want to keep questioning the things that I believe and keep getting to the root of what's true and keep learning more. I'm actually considering going back to school to become a trichologist. That's a hair specialist, and you learn all about hair science because I just want to get even deeper into the science of our hair and our scalp and what works. And is it really important for it to be sulfate free, silicone free? What are those things? I want to be able to explain that to people. And also, I think that I've just found success in trying different things. And what I've tried to remind myself is that I can always go back. If there's something that I'm doing that's working right now and I know it works, great. But if I try something new, I can always go back to that other thing. So the main thing for me is I don't want to get bored. I don't want to get bored and I don't want to lose my passion because that's so important to me.
I love that so much. And that is a lesson for life in general. I just had this memory pop in when you said that. When I was in my 20s and I was living in New York City and I was leaving my really cool West Village apartment and my amazing job and all the things there to move to Colorado, there were certain people that were like, how could you leave all this behind? And I felt this draw to move to Colorado. But I said to myself, if I change my mind, New York isn't going anywhere. I can always come back. And that is such a great lesson for just jumping off the cliff or taking chances or growing and evolving. And sometimes not knowing what's on the other side, we discover something incredible, but knowing that staying safe doesn't serve us and we can always go back.
Absolutely. And I remember that feeling too when I started Nature's Curls. That was all the way back in 2021. I was only 20 years old at that point, and I had only been behind the chair doing hair for maybe 8 months. So it was a big risk to take. And I had a lot of people on the outside telling me I should stay an employee longer. I should learn my craft deeper before I add the responsibilities of having a business. And so it did really feel like a jumping off the cliff. But I thought to myself too, well, this is a time where I live with my parents. If it crashes and burns, I can always go back to being an employee, but it's also a good time to take the risk because I have everything to gain. And it was totally worth it. No regrets for sure.
And it's paid off because you are full, your schedule is full, and I always just feel even excited. I'm like, "Great. I make my appointment now for 4 months from now because she is so booked," and I just love to see you thriving and busy, and also, I'm always I mean, age is just a number, and I always say that, but I'm always like, "You're such an old soul, you're so wise," and I always, like, forget what your age is, what it doesn't even matter, it's not even important, and I always am just impressed by how you have grown your business and, just continued to persevere with all these fun ideas, and it seems like teaching has been a theme through everything that you've done. I know you've gone through periods where you've trained other stylists, but then you've also done some group teaching and now talking about teaching parents. Is that something that you ever envisioned, being a teacher?
No. And I was actually terrified of public speaking and everything like that back when I was in school. And I remember the first couple of classes I taught, I was so nervous to teach these classes because I had this imposter syndrome. Like, why are they looking to me for advice on curly hair? And it's been affirming teaching classes and getting positive feedback from people. And even months later having people come back and say that they're using the techniques that I taught them, or even teaching clients on a daily basis. But I think that I have been gathering this knowledge for so many years now that I'm ready to keep teaching, and I would like this to become something that I do more and on a larger scale, whether it be teaching stylists in salons how to work with curly hair, or teaching guests, teaching parents, teaching my clients. Anybody with curly hair, I think I have some information that could help them.
I mean, I was not just being polite at the top of the episode when I said you're the first person who's ever taught me stuff about my own hair. Beyond just the brush comment or products or styling techniques, even things like a satin pillowcase or how I sleep with my hair up on top of my head to preserve the curls for tomorrow or whatever those different techniques are. The trichology thing was so interesting. I'm curious because one of the things, just as a holistic person in life, that I recognize often is that we are treated by certain industries treat us as like separate pieces and parts, not as a whole. So I wonder if what role nutrition has in hair.
Does have a role in hair, and it's funny that you ask me this now because I've just started this rabbit hole of trichology and listening to podcasts with hair scientists and trichologists. It plays a massive role. Um, are I think they say there's 3 categories. There's genetic hair loss, there's dietary related hair loss, and then there's hormonal hair loss. So, diet definitely plays in. They say that people can have low ferritin levels, like low iron, but I follow this guy, I cannot remember his name right now, his podcast where he talks about trichology, and one of his sectors to his protocol is talking with people about diet.
It's so cool. I mean, how could it not, right? It
Right.
influences, I mean, they say your hair and your nails are sort of related. And so having just a healthy body or a healthy balance of uh, minerals, vitamins in our bodies could definitely influence how our hair grows. And even the climate, right? Like here in Colorado, it's so dry. And so my hair is naturally dry. I mean, I've gone camping for like a week straight and not even touched my hair and it still wouldn't get oily. Or like you mentioned, like the scalp health could impact how our hair grows. I mean, there's so many layers to it. I can't even imagine, if I think you're an expert now, what you're going to be like after you learn all that stuff deeper too.
Yeah, it's interesting because the more I learn, the more I see that our hair is just another layer to this multi-layer onion of our bodies, and I think that people just keep hitting dead ends when they go to professionals with their problems, medically or hair related. One of the things I've been seeing a lot lately is hair loss, and people usually start by going to their hair stylist for advice, and we're just trained to cut and color hair. We don't really learn about hair loss and what causes it, and so that was part of my motivation to learn more about trichology and hair loss, so that I could at least give some advice. But then people go to their dermatologist, and their dermatologist just specializes in the dermal layer, our skin. And so it doesn't address the inside. And then they go to their doctor, and it's always people are trained specifically in each thing, but they're not realizing that it's this whole symbiotic relationship between our diet, our lifestyle, our stress levels, our hormones. And so I would love to eventually be able to take into account those other factors and help people with that too.
That's exceptional. My daughter is studying to be a dietitian, and one of the things her and I have just talked about conversationally too is that medical doctors, allopathic doctors, don't have a nutrition class in their entire training. They are taught to use prescription medications to treat symptoms. So it's not curative, it's suppressive. And so I mean, this is just, you are truly a category of one because you are trying to overcome all of these shortcomings and bring all of these components beyond your already gifted eye for style and making women feel so, not just women, men too, uh, all of your clients who sit in your chair seen and heard. And it feels like so much more than a haircut. It feels like a spa treatment. It feels like a therapy session. Working with you has been so fun and so great, which is why we always have the best conversations. And I just thought, I really want the listeners to hear this.
Thank you, Leslie. And it's always so fun to do your hair too because it's amazing.
Oh, well, thanks. I tried really hard to make you proud today and made sure I was having a good hair day.
Looks fabulous.
Well, we're going to link all of Sadie's information in the show notes so you can follow her on socials, or if you're lucky enough to be in the Boulder, Denver area and would like to go see her for a curly cut or consult, we'll have all her information. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
This has been a Category of One podcast. If this resonated with you, please share, subscribe, or leave a review. I appreciate you.